Welcome, John and Simon from Bristol. What's it? Bristol, you put me right earlier, John. What's the actual company called?
The company is called Bristol Spirits Limited.
Bristol Spirits Limited. And the range is?
Rum is Bristol Classic Rum.
Yes. So I keep saying that wrong. So apologies. But that's the range, Bristol Classic Rum. So John is the head honcho. He's the man behind all this. Simon is the new boy on the block. We will let him kind of introduce himself in a minute. But John, tell us how you got started. Tell us all about Bristol, and then we'll dive into the spiced rum a bit. But just give us a bit of back history about you while I make myself a little bit smaller. There we go. Right. So this is John, boys and girls.
Okay. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Steve, thanks for this. This is a good opportunity just to say a few words about Bristol Spirits and what we do. If I go back to the very beginning, my family have always been on trade, so hotels and pubs in Bristol, so bars and bar work, etc. I joined the business in '68, and then formed my first wine company in '73. So I've been at this for quite a while. I took, under the persuasion of some friends at Harvard at the time, I took the Wine and Spirit Education Trust exams. And finally, I must say, I passed my diploma in '72, which for anybody who's been doing any exams recently, let me tell you, I certainly couldn't pass the diploma today. It is much more difficult, much more difficult. So
John, you don't look a day over 30.
Oh, well, it's very sweet of you, but that's the camera that does it, you know. So we started doing some trading out of Bristol, and then friends of mine in Harvard said, we need to dispose of some casks of cognac. Could you help? I said, oh, sure, knowing absolutely nothing about cognac at the time. But I was able to help them dispose of this stock, and that set me on the path of what's known as early landed vintage cognac, which is cognac shipped from Cognac over to the UK and matured here, because the warehousing in the UK is much damper and cooler than it is in Cognac. And this was at that time one of the great traditions of the traditional English wine trade. So all the people such as Berry Brothers and Corney and Barrow and the regional breweries and the regional wine merchants would ship in odd casks of cognac for maturation here. And you could see bottlings would come up, you know, available on shelves and wine lists at various times. But we started this, and then I met Bernard Hine, dear, the late Bernard Hine, now sadly no longer with us. But he seemed to take a shine to what I was doing. And we decided then to make a more formal arrangement. And Bristol Spirits the Bristol Brandy Company, as we were then, became the official importers for bulk Hine cognac.
Wow.
We then went on a bit longer, and then we floated the company on the business expansion market, and that went well. We had a lot of local support from shareholders based in and around Bristol. And that went on till about 1989, when Hine decided they really wanted to take full control, and everybody agreed to sell the company to Hine. So then we joined Hine, which at that time were part of Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, I mean the largest luxury liquor company in the world. And really it was a dramatic change from pubs and hotels in Bristol to being part of this amazing international company. And the first thing they did was fly me out to Hong Kong to do a tasting out there. And then we were doing various other things and different marketing in different parts of the world, toing and froing, whizzing around in private jets and things like this, which is, I mean, all totally, you know, completely different step from what I was probably used to. Anyway, that worked very well for a while. And then in '93, we decided that was, you know, enough time for that. So two of us left, and we set up Bristol Spirits. But we retained LVMH and retained Hine and retained, our customers then, and we looked after ongoing casks of cognac for many years, and still do. Although we're here to talk about rum tonight, but we also handle early landed vintage cognac, casks still being matured in the UK. We also handle Calvados, Armagnac, various other spirits that need maturation in wood. So we also have a certain amount of whiskey, both grain and malt, and we export it, we bottle it for other people, we do a certain amount of own label work for other people. Most of our work is now overseas, and most of our work now is rum. Rum has taken on an amazing position over the last 20, 25 years. When you think back in the late 80s, 90s, that most rum was big brand and quite traditional. Certainly in the UK, it was dark, sort of yo-ho-ho, navy type rums. and it had a slightly sort of image problem, I think is the honest answer. But there's absolutely no reason why super quality, well-made rum should not be every bit as good and every bit as valued and every bit as expensive as matured cognac or matured whiskey or any other fine spirit. And it's amazing how much super stock there is, certainly was and is around. So we started business in 93 with the help of a number of friends. One of them was Wallace Milroy, the great Wallace Milroy, the Milroy brothers who were in Greek Street in Soho. And he acted as a help for us. That was on the whiskey side. And one day we were up in Scotland, we were at Springbank over in Campbellton. And he said, you must come and meet this chum of mine, Bill Thompson. Again, sadly, neither of us, they've all gone, unfortunately. And Bill said, well, that's really interesting. Nice to meet you, John. How interesting what you're doing. He said, do you know anything about rum? I said, well, no, not a thing. So he said, well, I've spent 10 years as the sales manager of Heineken in the Caribbean. He said, I've been around every island in the Caribbean. I know where there's some rum. Don't you think we ought to do something about it? So I thought, well, what a jolly good idea. And I said to Wallace, oh my God, I know nothing about rum. So he said, well, you better learn quickly. And that's exactly what we did. And we started by talking to friends in Liverpool at the main rum company. Dear Ben Cross, who's still with us, he was the managing director then. Went to see him and had a good chat there. And then we started selecting barrels of spirit, of rum that I liked, he liked, were available in the UK. Because at that time, he was also involved with Demerara Distillers, which is Guyana, which is obviously one of the great traditional supplying countries. So we built up some business there, and then we started with a customer in Japan, putting really nice quality, interesting product into plain, straightforward packaging. As you can see from the rest of our range, we've hardly changed it over the last 20 years. But it's I think, much more important what is inside the bottle and not the actual bottle itself. So we use a standard pack, we use a standard format. That's exactly the sort of thing we do. So we started working in Japan. We still supply Japan. We supply China. We supply, 15, 18 countries around the world. Simon can give you all the sales a bit later on. But well, there are one or two places where we don't do any work. We tried the USA, but with no great success. We do a little bit in Canada and nothing in South America. But the answer is, we're only a small company. We can only do so much. And over the years, sales have developed. Our largest markets are the EU. And I have to say, as a very staunch Remainer, I find the irritation now of the problems of exporting to our nearest and largest market so unbelievably frustrating that it makes me absolutely boil. Anyway, I'm still pleased to say that our importers in Germany and Switzerland and France and Scandinavia are, as keen and supportive of the brand, and have been some of them have been agents for 10 or 15 years, have been very supportive of the brand. I mean, again, we're only a tiny company, it's only a small brand, but it has a particular niche in the market. So that's the sort of background to where we are.
So, what year, roughly, give or take, did you start the rum side of it then?
About 96, something like that, 95.
Wow.
90.
Okay. So you're. This is the fascinating thing. So you're, I've tasted a lot of your rums, and they are some amazing rums. So you're one of the guys. Well, are you the sole decision maker of what rums you are? So your palate, you've trained your palate in rum over that time. You've gone from no knowledge to, I don't know, what do you class yourself as?
A little knowledge.
Are you a master blender? Would you call yourself a blender, a master blender?
No, I wouldn't. No. I would just call myself a happy amateur, really. I mean, what we do, what I do, is that I want to buy, mature, and supply something that I like and I believe other people would like. It isn't the commercial pressure of saying, oh, you must do this or you must do that. We'll send samples from various people, and some of them are very nice, and some of them we buy, and some of them we bring in, some of them we put to different types of wood, some of them we mature, some are a bit more aged, some are absolutely new make, we keep for 15 or 20 years. And others, we say, well, look, that's terribly kind of you, but that's not for us. So one just has to say, it's my choice, and whether they're good or bad, and they're not all good. I make mistakes, and that there's some howlers every now and then. But I mean, overall, it is a range that has been incredibly well received and very well supported by some very loyal distributors and some very loyal consumers. And we have people who used to write in, or used to email in, or used to phone up. But now, since Simon's joined us, who's very techy and very good on all the magical communication means today, we're on WhatsApp, or we're on God knows what we're on, actually, but he's in charge of all of that. And we get these lovely comments from people around the world to say, just tasting your, just drinking your, just enjoying your, whatever it is. And that is what is so encouraging, because rum is a drink to be enjoyed. It's not for constant tasting. And I know we have a lot of bloggers who are terribly, terribly interested in, what degree of alcohol, how much sugar, what's the analysis, what's this, what's that, etc. How many days, weeks, or months did it spend in this warehouse or that warehouse? Doesn't matter. In the end, it's a drink that you enjoy with friends, with family, with it's there to be enjoyed. And in all positions, when I do talks, etc., I talk about the rum pyramid. It's a pyramid to me. You start off at the bottom of the pyramid where we all begin. So things like spiced rum, Bacardi and Coke, and things like that are just where so many people enter the rum market. And
John,
then,
did you start there, John?
Captain Morgan. Well, you see, you've got to remember, that is 12, 13 million cases in the US market. And that is one hell of a lot of rum. And you also have to think of Bacardi. And I'm a great supporter of Bacardi. I mean, they have supported the rum category for the last 60, 70 years, 80 years with constant, support, advertising, all those glossy pictures in motor magazines on pretty boys and girls on the beach enjoying Bacardi and Coke, etc., etc. And why not? It's a really pleasant drink. And I've got to say, you move up through these levels up to look behind you, all those rums you have on those shelves, and you see a selection there, different types, different ages, different styles. Some are pot still, some are column still, some are a little bit sweeter, some are darker, some from all over the world. But the variety of rum, the differing qualities and styles, and the different drinking opportunities. I mean, people say to me, oh, well, how would you drink this one or that one? I said, well, it depends. I mean, I like rum and tonic water as a long drink. I'm a great believer in long drinks. And rum and tonic water is something you can drink as an aperitif before lunch. Or you could drink it in the afternoon while you're sitting by the swimming pool. Or you could drink it in the evening, or you could drink it in the nightclub, or you could drink it anytime, anywhere. You can have rum as a long drink with your favorite mixer. Now, whether it's tonic water, which I like, or whether it's ginger ale, which I also like very much. Now, I know we're talking about Bristol Black tonight, or I'll leave you to do that later on. But Bristol Black and ginger ale is, I think, a really lovely drink. Slice of orange, ice, etc. But down here in the West Country of England, it's mighty cold. We've got about 6 inches of snow outside at the moment. So I've been drinking Bristol Black as a hot grog.
Yes.
There we are, snap. Now,
yours is a lot darker than mine, though.
Oh, well, I've got
what did
more.
I do wrong?
I've got more Bristol Black in it. You have to encourage sales. You know that.
Yeah, come on, Steve. Drink up. Drink up.
Sorry. So John, two questions then, personal questions. First one, I mentioned your biggest fan. Well, he's here. Your biggest fan in the whole world is here, the fellow Bristol boy, and he wants to know, were you Bristol born? Is it St Brenda's? He stalks you, so don't take it personally.
Yep. No, I'm a Bristolian. I'm a Bristolian.
And then, so were you born? Is that St Brenda's? Is that a hospital? I don't know what that is, but there we go.
No, I was born in a nursing home in the Mall in Clifton. That's of any interest, but that's a long time ago.
Wow. So, right, okay, I won't tell you to pick your favourite then, but have you got 3 styles or countries or your 3 favourite rums? What would you go to? Even if you can say your own, but would you favour like a Guyanan over a Trinidad, or where do you go? Where does John go to drink?
Well, now that's really interesting. I think it depends on the mood. I really do. And the mood, I'm a great situation drinker. So you could take something like a young Trinidad and ginger ale, or your favorite mixer, or whatever it is, ice, a slice, etc. It's just a really pleasant long drink. If we were drinking cognac and ginger ale, it would be a horse's neck. So it's the same sort of mixture type thing. But I mean, if you're at home sitting down with friends and really say you're taking something like a 20-year-old Port Morant, which is a very intense pot still distillation, one of the great classic Demerara rums, well, you would put it into a really nice heavy goblet and maybe a splash of water or a lump of ice, and sit down in your favorite armchair, and you could sit there for an hour quite happily playing with this glass and just really enjoying it and seeing it develop and seeing it come forward, etc. I mean, obviously, we have spent a lot of time with Caroni rum from Trinidad as well, which is a very distinctive, and that's the very one. And we shipped a lot of rum from Caroni, which sadly now is closed. It's a closed distillery and much sought after. But it produces on a column still a very distinctive and very flavoursome rum, which, is really, again, quite unique. Now, if you ask me, where do you think the future is? I mean, I'm also very interested, and we have considerable stocks of rum from the Indian Ocean. So places like Mauritius,
Wow.
Reunion, I think have great potential. And then you look at other countries around the world. I know we become Caribbean centric, but you must look at Fiji, Australia, South Africa, as they say, in the islands in the Indian Ocean. And of course, the Indian market itself has a very large rum consumption. So the variety, go back to the pyramid again, the variety in the pyramid is absolutely there. There's a rum for every occasion, there's a rum for every enthusiast and consumer. And there are enough rum brands in the market, not just in the UK, but all over the world, to keep most rum lovers busy for years.
So without going like too much off topic, but if you had, I don't know, two friends coming round, say, let's go this direction. If you had two friends coming out, one was a staunch whiskey drinker and one had never had rum before, which kind of categories, which rums would you kind of give them first?
Well, the latter would be a friend of mine.
Okay, fair enough.
I think what we'd do is we would do something quite classical and heavy. So, you know, the Port Morants, the Versailles, these are rums made on wooden pot stills, which give them very particular characteristics. So it's rather like, it's not quite the same as Islay malt whiskey. It's not quite as extreme as that because there's no peating in the operation, but it's the equivalent of that depth of flavor. So that would be one extreme. And then I would say something like, well, column still distillation. I mean, places like Venezuela produce, I mean, some very attractive rums. I mean, you've got one or two on the shelves behind you, but you know, they also produce very attractive, very drinkable, and very stylish rums. So those two would give you a wide selection of flavors to look at, and that would certainly get the party going, I think.
So let's talk about just very quickly a broad overview of the process of. So, what happens when you find a barrel of rum, a cask of rum that you kind of want to buy and bottle? Do you go? Would you fly over to the Caribbean and taste it? And like, what happens? What happens then? Stupid
Well,
question, I know. Sorry, but
no, it's a very sensible question. I mean, it's a very reasonable question. I mean, traveling around the Caribbean, you know, everybody thinks it's God's gift. It's an absolute wonderful way to pass time. But actually, it's incredibly hard work. And you've got to be up early in the morning to catch flights out at, you know, 6 o'clock from one island to the next island. It's also, it can be really hot and really sticky. If you go to Guyana, you know, the humidity can be very high. You've got to be young and fit to be doing really a lot of work. I mean, back in 2001, I took a group of wine and spirit merchants from the west of England out to the Caribbean on a tour. And in 2 weeks, we did 19 distilleries on,
wow.
I think I'm right saying 9 different locations, 9 different countries. And believe you me, that is incredibly hard work. You know, flying from Trinidad to Guyana, Guyana to Jamaica, then out to Martinique, Guadeloupe, St. Lucia. So it's doing it sort of, you do it clockwise around the Caribbean. And you've got to be fit to put up with it. I couldn't do it today, but I mean, it is genuinely hard work. Now, people think that's absolutely whoopee, but most of the trade, most of the business is done on sample. So having established over the last 20 years, you know, good connections with a lot of rum producers, you know, and you can trust, and you know the style of operation, the type of product they will do. And so we work on samples. They come in either new make, which obviously looks like vodka because it's absolutely clear when it comes off the still. And we would buy it either in barrel or in plastic drum or in steel drum or in IBCs, the square 1,000-liter boxes, or we'll buy it in tankers and have it brought over in 25,000 litre tankers and have them shipped over to the UK. Once here, we would have them filled to wood. So my fascination and my speciality and what I like is wood and wood management. So, because I mean, wood can make or break a rum, or any other spirit, come to that. But if you start with decent spirit, so let's assume, we've agreed the samples, we like the style, we like the potential in what we see, we ship it in, bring it into Bristol or into Liverpool or into Scotland, whichever the port is, etc., is coming in. And then I select the wood I want to put it to. So it might be once used bourbon, it might be used whiskey wood, it might be used rum wood, it might be port wood, sherry wood, Madeira wood, different types of wood, etc. And each of these woods have their own characteristics to add, or sometimes add too much of, to the rum that they're filled with. So actually coming to the right bottling style that you want is, I think, very important. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by sweet sherry. And people think, oh, sherry finish on whiskey must be good or on rum must be good. Well, it's not necessarily the case. And sometimes it's dry sherry or Amontillado sherry as opposed to Oloroso, which is so much more effective. I'm also a great lover of Madeira wood. I'm a great lover of Madeira, start there, as the wine itself. But the wood is so attractive for spirit maturation because it has both sweetness and acidity. And the balance of the two are so important. It's the danger is being overwhelmed by sweetness, and that's not what we want. We want pure, clean, attractive product to be the end result for the consumer to enjoy. And by doing careful wood management a period of time, one can come out with some really, really attractive stock. The other thing is the warehousing in the UK is much cooler than the Caribbean. The air is different, the water is different, the atmosphere is different, the temperature is different. And you can have the same rum in, say, Barbados and in the UK matured over 10 or 15 years, and you do end up with a different product. Now, our friends in Barbados would say theirs is better. Well, we would say ours is pretty good. Now, I would say, and forgive me, any ladies on the show tonight, forgive me for being so sexist, but somebody once said to me, he said, John, that's fine. This one is wonderful and that one is wonderful. It's just like blondes and brunettes. They are both equally beautiful, but different. And that is the fundamental thing about maturation in different locations. The product can be equally beautiful, but different. It's just like early landed vintage cognac. The same cognac matured in Cognac or in the UK is different. So these are the things that are so important. So then you go through production, bottling, very light filtration, no coloring, no sweetening. You arrange your bottling. I like small batch bottling. I'm not a great lover of single cask bottling because, firstly, you need enough product for Simon to sell. He's a different salesman, and he's got to go out and sell to all our customers and all our distributors. So if you don't have enough, don't forget the redheads. I saw that, yes. Sorry, redheads, yes. But if you don't have enough product, you can't sell to all your distributors. So small batch bottling is my favorite way of going forward. And I'm also not really a great lover of cask strength. I know there are other bottlers who are very keen on cask strength, on natural strength, etc. I like my rums to be, say, 43 to 50, 51 or 2-ish, something like that. You mustn't forget that rum can be 60, 65, 70%, 75%, And that to me is not a joy for drinking. It's fine for technical analysis. It's fine for, the heavy conversation between rum bloggers and things like that. But go back to what I think rum is all about, which is an enjoyable drink. I don't think high strength 65, 68 plus is actually enjoyable. In fact, I think it's almost dangerous. I think the producer, the supplier, has a sort of social responsibility to actually put it out at a sensible drinking strength. This isn't a sort of macho thing. I can drink stronger spirits than you can. I mean, that to me is bonkers. So hopefully it's something that's super quality, enjoyable, drinkable, repeatable, and accessible. And those are the things that I think are so important.
John, I love you. You're saying everything perfectly. It's a great. Can I just clarify one thing? So the rum that you buy from the Caribbean, is it predominantly unaged? Do you do all the aging, or do you ever buy, I don't know, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old cask and bring it back?
Well, I often say I'm a bit like a second-hand car salesman. I'll buy anything that attracts me and I find attractive. So we will buy absolutely unaged new make spirit and bring it in. But also we buy second-hand rum. There are other suppliers. There are companies that have excess stock. There are companies that say, John, would you like some of this? And if we have a sample, if we like it, I'll buy it. So throughout the whole age range, we are buyers. So it depends very much on the quality of the spirit. If I like it and we can afford it, I'll buy it.
There's just so many questions, so many conversations to have off what you've just said. But I'm kind of mindful I want to talk about this. But the big thing that's kind of resonated with me at the moment is like, how on earth do you pick the barrel? So bearing in mind you're kind of a barrel expert, a wood aging, how on earth do you taste the rum and think, oh, that would be amazing with the Madeira or amazing with it? Is it just like, how much of it is just pot luck, or how much of it is tasting and thinking, right, that is definitely portwood finish?
Well, there is an element of pot luck. One has to say that not everything comes through and not everything is 100% successful. But on the other hand, as I say, I've been at this for quite a long time, and you develop a nose for it. And so much of it is on the nose as opposed to the palate. And experience will show you or tell you that certain rums will develop in certain ways, and certain rums show better in certain wood. So, it's actually putting all that experience together and combining it into an ongoing program, because you must have an ongoing program. Because if you sell everything at 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years old, you have no 20, 25, 30-year-old stock to offer. And the only way you have older stock to offer is not to sell it when it's younger. And we have people come to us because we also trade in bulk rum as well. And we have people come to us out of the blue and say, oh, we'd like to buy some barrels of rum from you. We hear they're terribly good, etc., etc. But nothing under 25 years old. And, we'd like this, that, and the other. And I say, well, that's terribly interesting and terribly nice of you to come to us. And I'm terribly flattered that, you have this interest, etc. But quite frankly, we're unable to satisfy your request, because you really should have come to see us 10 or 15 years ago and bought the rum when it was 10 years old and kept it for another 10 or 20 years yourselves. That's the only way you have mature stock. I mean, look at our friends in Scotland who are offering, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, etc. whiskey. The only way you have it is by not selling it. Now, I know that sounds sort of counterintuitive, but you've got to restrict supply to get aged stock. So we have on our list at the moment I think back to about 1990. Is it, Simon?
Yes, our oldest one's about 99, the Port Morant.
There we are, 99. So there's 21, 22 years old, 23, and these are things you could only keep, until later to offer as a more mature product. Now, there is a question, quite rightly, what is the right age to bottle? What is the right age to sell? Because different rums mature at different speeds. Normally, column still would come forward a bit more quickly. Lighter rums would maybe be easier to bottle earlier on and show very well. Some will begin to fade when maybe the wood becomes too powerful, because what you want again in any spirit is the harmony and balance between wood, fruit, and the spirit itself. And getting the combination of all three is the result of tasting. And you can only do it by really constant tasting. So when you see rums gradually going up the sort of plateau of maturation, they go along the sort of top of the plateau for a while. You want to catch them there before they start going down the other side. So whether go back to Port Morant again as an example. We bottle it at sort of 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years old. The rum has enough concentration, enough flavor. It has that wonderful little touch of aniseed to it, which is so typical of Port Morant. And it would take it through so long as you give it the right wood. You mustn't overpower it. You must allow it to develop. You must allow it to show its full quality. But once you reach a point of full maturation, then you have to bottle it. Otherwise, spirit will go into decline. It becomes too woody. The wood becomes too powerful. And I mean, I've seen 60s and 70s samples of rum which you think would be wonderful, but in fact, they've simply become so woody that the fruit and the pleasure of drinking them has been lost, which is sad, because if they had been bottled 15 years earlier, they would have been utterly delicious. So it's very important you catch them at the right time.
Yeah. John, I'm mindful of time. Look, I could chat to you all night. I'm mindful that you were going to give us half an hour, 40 minutes or so. Look, just quickly talk us through your thoughts behind the spiced. Why did you do a spiced rum? Why did you pick those kind of flavors to go with the spiced rum? And what the rums? Because I don't think this is well known. The two base rums of the spiced.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll give you the sales pitch.
Go on, you do it.
This really all came out of our friends in Scandinavia and Finland in particular, because in Finland, the most popular sort of national flavor is salt licorice. And one or two of them said to me, well, have you ever thought about doing a spiced rum? To which I said, well, no, it's not something we normally do. And they said, well, it'd be really good, And you said, well, heavens above, what flavors would you like? So what we don't want is vanilla and cinnamon, which are the two most popular flavors in every spiced rum in the world. So I said, what on earth do you want? They said, well, salt licorice. Licorice is the national flavor, I said, God, that's difficult. Anyway, I came back and played around with it for a year or two. And with the help of some friends, I mean, I can't say it wasn't a magic, moment that gave me the formula. It was quite a lot of work with some friends and specialists in the flavor field. We put together some rums. So the Mauritius gives it a sort of slight edgy bite to it. The Trinidad gives it a bit more depth and flavor. But we tried to put together a flavor based around licorice, together with some other spices, which obviously are terribly secret. I couldn't possibly tell you. And then we wrap the whole thing in oil of orange. And that is what gives it that sort of roundness and flavor. Now, what gives it the mouthfeel is we've used some grape concentrate to actually give it weight in the mouth. So when you taste it neat, you've got all those lovely sort of dry flavors, dry fruits, nuts, that sort of thing. Tobacco, a little bit of chocolate coming through, and then this lovely oil of orange, which just rounds it out at the end. Now, as I say, I enjoy it with ginger ale. I enjoy it, as they say, as the hot grog, but people enjoy it neat. Russia, before the Ukrainian war, Russia was quite a good market for us for this, where they used to enjoy it as a sort of shot, which is sounds a bit grim, but we have had a very good distributor over there, which sadly, of course, has all come to nothing now. But it's appreciated, particularly in colder countries. As I say, I was drinking some earlier on as a hot grog, and it really is a lovely drink. But mind you, I'm highly prejudiced.
It's quite fascinating. I've been drinking this the last couple of nights, and so in here, I don't know whether you can gather, I'm in my studio, it's outside. It's actually pretty cold. It's the bottle is quite cold. I'm talking fridge temperature, and it's very different to have when I have it in the house at room temperature. Like, it's very licoricey in the house, but out here, the big taste I get is dandelion and burdock.
Fine.
I get massive dandelion and burdock on the aftertaste.
Yep. So long as you enjoy it, that's the main thing. Yes.
So, am I to assume that, obviously, because we'll chat to Simon in a minute, we'll let you go, John, in a second, but am I to assume that the biggest sales volumes for this are outside of the UK? Obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Which is fascinating, because spiced rum in the UK is huge.
It's a big market, but that's why we're so pleased to have somebody as specialist as the Rum Club to actually go and offer it out to their members, because we have distribution in the UK. It is listed in a number of places. It is carried by a number of people in various parts of the country, but actually the biggest volume for it is Scandinavia, Germany, and those sort of northern territories where, as I say, as a hot grog or as a long drink or as a spiced rum, it's been very well received.
Wow. So I find all that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Different markets, different sales in different markets. I know the Germans, we've had one pop on here and say hello, but I know the Germans have got very different tastes in rum to what we have in the UK. And I just, I think one of them, didn't you do a Coroni tasting in Germany recently, or was that Scandinavia somewhere?
Germany, we've done Coroni tastings. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Finland, that was it.
We've got Finland,
one.
Yeah.
There's one guy in my community that was at that, I think, and was chatting about that. But yeah, fantastic.
Well, there we are. We try. We can only do so much. We can only travel so far. We're not one of these enormous international companies with brand ambassadors everywhere. It's Simon and I, do the work between us, and he, thank goodness, is doing an awful lot more of it.
Just before we let you go, why, being from Bristol, why is your biggest sales volumes outside of the UK? How, was that purely through your brandy, your cognac backgrounds, your connections, or was it just a natural progression?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I suppose it's the appeal of something out of the UK to other markets. And as I say, I'm a great European, having worked for a European French company. I've spent a lot of time traveling around Europe, and that's our prime market. And that's where I find most enjoyment in selling, put it like that. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Italy, or who wouldn't want to go to Switzerland or Scandinavia or Germany or, etc. Who wouldn't want to do these things? I mean, I find that so attractive, and it's part of the culture of the wine and spirit trade. It's part of the influence that the sort of industry has within the sort of European market, which is so attractive. I think the answer is maybe I've worked too hard in Europe and not hard enough in the UK. But Simon's going to sort that out.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, John, look, you are more than welcome to stay. You are, but I was mindful that you were going to give us half an hour. You've already given us like 45, 50 minutes.
Well, that's okay.
So
I don't want to bore you, because I mean the trouble is I could go on for hours. It get terribly boring.
Honestly, my friends, you could go on for hours, and we would all absolutely love it. We really would. Because I said to you, one of the best interviews I've ever heard, and a few people in here will agree with me, was when you guys did the Rumcast, the podcast with the two guys in America, in the US. And we were just fascinated listening to that.
Yeah,
Absolutely fascinated.
It's very sweet of you to say so, and also some very nice comments coming down from the people who are listening with us tonight. So, you know,
guys, just very quickly while he's here, if you've got any questions directly for John, quickly put them in the comments. I don't think I've missed any. But if you've got any questions, I'll get John to answer them just quickly. I'm just trying to show you.
I see Chris from Bingo Ringo says, "Can my local Cornish supplier get more of your products?" Well, Constantine stores down in Constantine are one of our most aged and one of our longest serving distributors in the UK. They have carried a range, and just go to them and say, "We want more Bristol spirits, Bristol Classic Rums, etc., etc." And they should place a large order with us next week.
I like that. He's on it.
And I'm not the salesman. That's Simon's job.
Yeah. Well,
well, I can interject here, because that was actually a challenge John gave me at the end of last one. Must have missed one of those crystal balls there to try and push some more rum. So yeah, that's my project for next week or two.
Yeah, but there we are. Good.
Geraint wants to know if you've got any more Barban. Do you have any more Barbancourt?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
we do.
Yeah, we've just bottled Haiti actually. That we had sold out of previously, but yeah, we got more.
And when you think what a terrible state the country of Haiti is in at the moment, I mean, for God's sake, it's gangland over there. They're murdering each other. The gangs are creating hell. And one of the most stable, long-established businesses in Haiti is Barbancourt. They have been responsible for supplying work, wages, occupation to so many people, growing cane, cutting cane, bringing cane to the distillery. And they have been working under terrible conditions. If it isn't, earthquakes, it's then riots and it's civil disobedience. And the actual country at the moment is in a terrible state. But Barbancourt, God bless them, have been going on producing stunning quality rum. And the only difference of ours is that we shipped it early and matured it in the UK, whereas they're maturing on the island. And I have to say, I have nothing but the greatest respect for the family and for the company and for the team that produced that stuff under really, really difficult circumstances. So, if I was going to raise a glass to anybody this evening, I'd say, here's to Barbancourt and here's to Haiti. God bless them.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
He says as he drinks a Corona.
Yeah. But there we are.
The local boy has got a question for you. I've lost it. The local boy is on about quarries.
Quarries. No,
I've got some of your casks in the...
I've got Elizabeth saying, is the distillery? No, we do not have a distillery. We are not distillers. We are buyers. We are buyers of rum that other people have distilled. So I am not a distiller. We do not have a distillery. So therefore, we buy in all the time. Yeah.
No, there is a...
Sorry.
Just to cover that, there is a Bristol distillery at the top of Bristol. We have our lines in there, but they're nothing to do with us. That's a separate company. Things wonderful night out, and if you go there on a night out, then look at the Bristol Classic. But just to go back to the quarry, I think that's relating to John's Wickwar as the cellars where we was doing lots of the maturation. So that's where
Right. So that's from Windy, isn't it?
Yeah.
We started maturing early landed vintage cognac out in the old brewery in Wickwar back in, well, I would say the middle 70s. And that was a really interesting building because at that time it had ceased being a brewery and it was a warehouse, and it had cellars underground, two different layers underground, which were empty. And the occupiers, the owners said, well, heavens above, could we do something with it? And we said, well, we would like to put casks of spirit there. So we filled the place up with casks of early landed vintage cognac. Hine, Delamare, Hennessy, Exshaw, all the various brands we used to handle. And that was built in a quarry. And the quarry was there to provide the stone to line the railway tunnel that went through from Wickwar into Yate. And there's the main railway line down from, I'm going to think for a moment, down from Cheltenham, comes down through. And then you have, the railway line is right behind the old brewery. But the quarry was dug to provide the stone to line the tunnel for the railway. That's why it's there. And when they did it, they hit a spring, and that was ducted away underneath to the little river down the road. But it provided the humidity in the cellars. So the cellars were damp, cool, dark, and they were absolutely ideal for cask maturation. So an awful lot of cognac casks have gone through Wickwar, and also a lot of rum as well. Sadly, the place is closed. Sadly, we no longer mature there. Most of our stocks now matured in Liverpool, which is another great rum centre, a great traditional rum centre of the Caribbean trade, and also in Scotland as well, because in Scotland you get more of the cold, dank, damp warehousing, which is what we are looking for our particular work. So I hope that's helpful.
So when you say, hang on, just one final question on that. When you say warehouse, I'm picturing a great big normal warehouse that you would see, like, I don't mean that sort of size, but like Amazon would have, or who? Are we just talking like a normal warehouse? Is that what you use?
No, we would be looking at hopefully old, solid, brick-built, stone-built warehousing. What you don't want is modern warehousing, where you have thin walls and maybe steel roofs. Because if you think about it, if you think about bourbon in Kentucky, where you have wooden warehouses, but you have often corrugated steel roofs, as you stack the casks up, as they do over there, the ones at the top get roasted and toasted. So you have a different experience within the warehouse. So go back to the quarry again, on different floors, you have a different atmosphere. And in a warehouse, be it in the UK or in Scotland, between different levels and different warehouses, you can have different atmospheres. And it's the amount of humidity which is so critical, because we think that casks are simply receptacles for holding liquid. But alcohol is water hungry. So it will actually suck in from the atmosphere water into the barrel and reduce in strength, but not in volume. Whereas if you warehouse in the Caribbean, where it's much, much hotter, you'll get evaporation and you'll get reduction in volume, but not in strength. And this gives you a different maturation profile. So you have to be careful, what you're doing and where you're going. You obviously don't want to lose a total amount of alcohol. I mean, I've seen spirit at sort of 30, 32, absolutely naturally fallen there because of the very, very wet warehousing. But you have to catch it at the right time. It's all to do with constant monitoring of the spirit in hand. You've got to go around all the time, nosing, having strength tests done to watch the maturation of what you're looking at. And that applies to cognac, whiskey, rum, any spirit. So it's start with really good spirit, put it in really good wood, put it in really good warehousing, and keep control of it. And in the end, you should have a super product for the consumer.
See, I find this fascinating. I'm starting to look a little bit at UK rum distilleries, scratch rum distilleries.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having, there's loads of banter flying about in my community. We're having these chats about the rums are not going to be as good because we don't have the Caribbean aging and all that. But, you know, there's some great, I wouldn't say everyone, but there was some great, a handful of UK rum distillers, especially a couple up in Scotland, you know, that are producing this. And they're producing liquid that is amazing, even at two years old. So I find all this warehouse stuff quite fascinating.
Well, it is. I mean, it's very esoteric. You can get very carried away with it. But I mean, the big question we are constantly asked, and poor old Simon gets this question all the time, well, tell us how much Caribbean aging and how much continental aging has this rum had? Oh my God, you know, that's right. It's 20. Well, there you are. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wrong bottle, but yeah, we know the brand.
Yeah. But you can see the problem. You know, which day did it actually leave the island? You know, what time of the day? When did the ship sail? I mean, these questions become so ridiculous. It's just bizarre. So what you have to do is think, in the end, what you want is a super product to enjoy. And that's what we try and provide.
Wow. Yes. I love that. Look, John, thank you.
Right.
I'm, as I say, you are more than welcome to stay on. Absolutely more than welcome. But you know, you're such a legend. I don't want to keep you here.
No. My wife is banging the drum next door, saying you've done enough. Well, you'll get boring otherwise. Right. I should say good night to you, Steve, and good night to everybody else on the show as well. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's been enjoyable. And another time, I'll come back and talk about something else.
Definitely, we'll get some. We'll deep dive into a couple of countries or something, or projects you've got coming up next time. Yes, thank you so much. Right, we're going to stay here with Simon, I think. But John, thank you very, very much.
Okay, well, pleasure. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Right, let's take that there. Brilliant. Are you good to stay on, Simon? Are you all right?
I'm here as long as you want me here, and just tell me
brilliant
when to get off, and I'll be gone.
Brilliant. Right, I think we've got a little bit of a delay between us two, but that's fine. We can sort that. So I'll just basically what I know of Simon. Simon can introduce himself in a second, but just to give you a backstory of what I know, Simon is new to Bristol, give or take the last few months, and has been brought on. What he told me to focus on UK sales. So if you guys want to see more of Bristol in the UK, this is the guy that you need to bully.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really easy. Simon at classicrum.com though. So yeah, my background is I'm a kid. I was born in Hemel Hempstead, up in the home counties. I for agencies when I left school. I was trained as a graphic designer, so I've had a really to where I am at the moment, and you'll hear about that in the next few minutes. Strangely, I saw a hot air balloon fly once in the home, and the guy there flying invited me along, and from there I ended up getting my pilot's license, flying hot air balloons and working commercial, flying special shapes, so J&B bottle, Budweiser can, cars, shapes that you would see. Now that links to Bristol, because the home of modern hot air is in Bristol. So that's where I ended up many years later. I was headhunted in the manufacturing industry. Now Bristol's synonymous with the aviation industry. anyway. There's Rolls Royce, and also most of the modern hot air balloons are built here as well. Many years enjoying myself around there. I've known John for a long time, become a lifelong friend. He's one of those guys that you get drawn to. I mean, I couldn't interrupt. It's such a valuable thing when he's talking. Everyone hangs on every word he says. And Spirits' USP is John. He's right there. You know, it's easy for me to sell, really difficult for me to sell bad rum, but he's got good rum, so it's very easy to sell. I've manipulated and moved that on so that he can provide the market with more great rum. Side, I'd known John for about 20 years, and just around he, I think, like anyone, once you've had 30, 40 years in an industry, probably do the same thing over and over again, and you get a little bit stale, a little bit getting to that point where, you know, family commitments and maybe a little pressure to move on. You know, what's going to happen with Bristol Spirits, etc. Mentors, he spoke to people, and they said, well, why don't you bring someone in, someone that can help? We're a small business. There's 5 of us in total. You know, someone does admin, I'm doing the sales, and what that's able, John, he loves, like he says, the maturation and the procurement. He doesn't want to spend trying to talk about exporting, you know, 100 case pallet to Germany or what's of John's talent. And as you know, the community have said that he's such a humble guy. He would do, you know, we need him to move on to the procurement to bring it to market. So that's where I've been able to move in and help. He said, would I come on board with the you know, likelihood that in time then he would be doing complete procurement and maturation. I would the paperwork, the you know, the difficult side of things, really, and it's working so well because it's given him a great enthusiasm. I think we could also, the way he was talking and just the passion that he has, even though he's very humble, because when we were in the aviation industry, you always stayed with the manufacturer to fly with, and it might be a bit like cars when you first learn to drive in a whatever car. You stay with that brand, and I'm lucky enough that I've been introduced to the wonderful world of spirits. So, you know, I know I've started on a really high ledge, fall off a bit very quickly, but
it's only downhill from here on in, especially in Bristol.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful for me because I've known John as John, and I've been coming to the Rum Fest and lots of these rum shows in support of him in the last 18 months since and I'm astonished at just the fandom he's got. You know, I Tesco's meat counter, and you know, check in number 5, and I could just put John there, wanting to talk to him about everything about rum, and I could see inside, looking out now, that he's been a bit like Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate. Many years, people have tried to look through the gates to see what's going on in this sort of wonderful. It goes on, and it's like his palate is just stunning. He says that I'm not sure we have too many, because it's all about the way he works and the way one show that would be brilliant to see, that I get to see from the his choice for our lists that come up. We change our lists every 6 months. He will pull down samples from Liverpool. We have an extensive range of casks, floors in probably the most well-known warehouse in Liverpool. They're shared with us as well, who are great friends of ours. And he'll have these 10 centilitre bottles. They're lined up on his kitchen table. He's got beautiful, crisp white tablecloth. The glass is already and he's got a notepad and his pen, and he will literally start at his notes, and he'll work all the way through this line, and then he'll say that needs another 5 years. We're going to get this one into the bottle now, and it just that's an hour-long show that I reckon I could sell 500 tickets from tomorrow. You know, it's just watching a true craftsman working, and you know, I think the rum community is very, very blessed today.
When he's doing that, so from a personal point of view, when John's doing that, do you get to try them?
Yeah.
And do you get what he's talking about, or is it, you know, coming not from a rum background? Like, what's that process like for you?
Yeah, so I started with a complete blank canvas. You know, I'd you know, had the odd whiskey, etc. But you know, I've really never experienced rum. I think, you know, having now been in the industry sort of 2 years or so, I've done the exams that we have to go through to get some kind of level of knowledge. I'm nowhere near experienced enough, nowhere near, and it's you know, it's a worry for me. I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, I've got to learn really quickly. But learning from the Yoda of rum, you know, you can only but no, those tastings are really interesting because, again, he's so never say, oh no, that's not right. You know, taste again, etc. He comments, and he's very his conduct is very with it. You know, it's same with tasting wine, etc. You know, you could come and taste wine, really takes on board any of your comments, and he never criticizes you. He's just yeah, it's a great master to learn from, and hopefully I might have 5% of his talent. Who knows?
So knowing what your remit is, like how do we take Bristol? How does it become more well known in the UK? Because I think within the rum world, like, I don't want to call them the rum geeks, but you know, the people that will quite happily spend 120 pounds on a bottle of rum, you are very well known. But when it comes to the people that might only spend 40 or 50 pounds on a bottle of rum, you're kind of anonymous. So how do you take that and kind of build it and make Bristol a household name?
Yeah, that's really interesting, and actually, you know, we are a small company, so we don't to compete with all the other big guys out there. And as John says, batch bottling. So, you know, there's 180, 200 gone. We move on to the next one. So actually, concentrating too much on any one particular brand is silly. Line is a bit silly. We want to concentrate on the whole brand. Now, previously has bottled some wonderful stuff that is probably, you know, 350, maybe more in some places per bottle, left a hole, and that hole was exactly what you're talking around. You know, those guy budgets are not really allowing to experiment that far up, and it isn't all about price. You know, we do have one or two markets that are far away. They buy from us because it's expensive. You know, it's good stuff, but their reason we're going to buy the most expensive, and they're not really looking any further into it, which is a bit of a shame. But sell the products that we've got. So recently, John's been involved with bringing on like adults, which we have. Just here.
Hey, she fell over. Hey,
yeah, she fell over. Connects on. So
yes.
an 8-year-old, you know, that's a really easy, lovely drink. You know, sub 50 quid, long drink. That's perfect. We've also got a Venezuela as well. So don't fall over. Now, John was talking earlier about bringing 25,000 litre containers, and that's what we've done from a distillery so fair, which is aims, because it's all tied up in non-disclosure agreements. But the famous, very old distillery, quite a way from the centre that's actually come from. And we bought large quantities of that. So the first 1,000 litres or so have gone into bottle, and then now interesting what John was talking about there, where things take different. Moving back to the aviation terminology, is if you think of the red arrows, they start with that's the spirit that we bring in those big containers as such. Do that break where all 9 go different directions, and that's pretty much what. So the first one will go straight into bottle of an amount. Then the next Madeira casks of however many we can get hold of. The next lot will go, and then we will sell at 5 years. So that would end up being an 17, 18-year-old. Then we would go 20. So the same spirit that we bought ends up in many different locations over the age that it spends in our warehousing up in Liverpool. So what that does is gives me. So when you look at our list, we've got some Mauritius there, Labonnaise. That's had a cognac finish. That's a wonderful. Is
that this one? I know they're little bottles, but is that sort of same label? Yeah.
Cane juice, actually. That's this one here. So actually, it's the same base spirit. That's where it started. It's moved on because we've matured it into the cognac, and then we've produced can sell. But it's all about time. And John's managed to get the business into. We do have. We can afford that time of putting things in, and if you were starting to produce rum at the moment, then it's all about cash flow and trying to get the money out as quickly. We, as John's mentioned, we've got 2 sides. It's not really in percentages because it ebbs and flows really. Brokers. So John has a great level of stock all over the islands really that have come into Liverpool over many years, and we will then put other independent bottlers for then to do whatever they want to do with. Bristol Classic Rum. So at the beginning we were talking about how we class the Bristol Spirits Limited, and that's where the cask sales and the whiskey all comes under there. But Bristol Classic Rum is so it's Bristol Spirits Limited, the home of Bristol Classic Rum.
Classic Rum.
So we have become an independent bottler as such. That's pretty much how it works. But part of the business.
The thing I hadn't cottoned on, you've just there's a lot of collectors out there. I mean, the one range I'm collecting at the moment is like the Black Tot that do it every year. So I've got the 2020, the 21, the 22. But the one thing I hadn't cottoned onto is that you guys, it's the same rum. So that take the Venezuela that you're talking about. It's the same rum. So in a couple of years' time, there will be the same base rum, just aged differently.
I mean, we've got 25,000 litres of it all. And the last thing I need is all of it in a bottle, unless we're in the big Waitrose or wherever. We're never going to move that amount, and that's the beauty of Bristol as well. It's small batch bottling. That's the USP as well as jobs that we've got running for us. It's the exclusivity of it, and not just with rum. That's not really where we want to be.
Is that made clear on the marketing and on the label? Is it the same? Because
will be now.
Because I'm just knowing how my brain works and how quite a few others' brain works. But I love to plot the journey or look at the journey of especially the UK stuff. But if I say get this bottle of rum, and then to see how it's changed over 5 years, and that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I'm
one of the things
totally in that market.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm immediately thinking of, we've just taken in some new make Jamaican, you know, and that was long gone before we sell that, you know. So that's here for a long time, and it would be record that history, you know. It's come into us in IBCs, we'll export, and it will stay there for 10, 12 years, etc. Maybe second maturation into something else, and actually to have that history record it all changed gives it a provenance. It gives it more information, and people love information. Go back to your initial question about how we're going to push this forward. With the social side of things, so the Instagram and Facebook, and this is a wonderful story. He's brilliant at being a storyteller, and I'm here to help that story come out via socials, which is essentially a free, you know, you have to put work in and the F people, but it's to open up the world of John Barrett and Bristol and ask the questions and listen. That's really important to listen to the small things that we've done over the last 6 months is people were coming on board and saying 3%, you know, we'd like to see it a little bit more than that. So we're now 7 to 50% ABV. Just again, listening to and you know, John has his point. It has to be an enjoyable drink, and it's not about. But I think 47 is a nice balance between it all. So you know,
yeah,
if we can implement it, we'd really love to.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm just. It's kind of, you know, it's one of those brands that I've known of in the back of my head for years and years, but we've just never seen it in the UK. And I think Windy actually mentioned this earlier. It's like, so where is, right, okay, you release your next release, whatever it's going to be, when that's released, where is the big place to buy that first? I know you kind of gets to the Whiskey Exchange and Master of Malt, but you know, sometimes this stuff is sold out before we even get there. Do you sell directly, or like?
No, we don't sell directly. We're just wholesale and duty and who's certificated to do whatever else, and that's, you know, far too complicated for distributors. Wholesalers, they do a wonderful job, much better than we could do, as I say, and the last thing we need to be doing is being tied up in that side of it. Now, just to go mention that there was this sort of lull, you know, where I think enthusiasm just dropped a little bit, and you know, he was really busy during the COVID period. He had a record couple of years during that time, because I think people who wanted, and you know, we've got this rum revolution, renaissance. I think the demographically changed in the last 10 years as well, from what I've seen. And we're just trying to get back on that upturn again, so that we can enthusiasm to the resellers, to, you know, the guys at range, you know, bring us on board, go along with it. I think they just hadn't heard from us for 2-3 years, because we'd just been all tied up in and everything else that had gone along with that. So that's where I've tried to really help. And actually, you know, John has been fantastic with it, and reasons we're on tonight is because I want people to have access to John and that the rum community.
Yeah, I could literally talk to him all day. I mean, there's just so many tangents to go off there. Just about the reason. So, I mean, personal story for me. I'm not one of these people. It's like just dedicated to one brand of rum. I like to try different things, but I would love someone like you to be able to take me on the journey. And I think that's where Bristol, you know, we've got Plantation, you know, I'm struggling to think of any more brands really like that. But, you know, Bristol to me is like, and all right, there's SBS as well. Sorry, I've just remembered them. But it's this journey brand. You know, if you follow the brand, it can really kind of open out different rums and different styles of rum. And I think with John, it's not pretentious. It's kind of accessible.
No, well, I mean, SBS is a perfect example there, because the backstory from there is that the guys at SBS, which is actually 1423 in Denmark, who are for Bristol, came to John right at the beginning, and they bought one John, and you know, that's how the whole story evolves, and that's why distributors for at the moment. So somewhere, you know, it's a bit like that. How many? What is it? 3 links to Kevin. That's the same in the rum industry. That there's 3 links to John Barrett somewhere along the line. I heard in Finland a couple of months ago. We went out to do whiskey fair there, and John had a keen support. So I brought along a 1986 Rockley Still to enjoy. John brought along a Caroni 1974. Now exclusive, you know, it's John's got personal cases and it's gone. You know, that's proper drinking history. And we were just having a coffee to do the tasting. And John said, "You do know that gave Rockley Still its name?" Really? How we were approached by the Rockley estate through Ben Cross and Main Rum and exclusive cask bottling. This was back in '86, etc. And he said we were looking for to market it to bring it, and it was suggested that we call it the Rockley Still. That's how the whole name for the Rockley Still, which has now been moved into France. Again, there's your 3 links to John Barrett somewhere. And again, it's these stories that I'm like, I don't know this. This is just wonderful. Yeah, this is history. So I hope months, years, whatever it takes, I can get these stories out from John and you know, and we can record them for everyone to enjoy. But yeah,
But by the way, right, you know that sample box you sent me ages ago, and I've just cracked it. I was waiting because I knew you were coming on. I've just cracked. Right, everyone's been telling me this long pong, like we affectionately call it long pong, as in really pongy. That and there's one, and obviously we're not going to mention it for reasons I won't go into. But there's one rum that I'm not cracking out tonight. But this is my favourite out of that box. That's amazing. Love that.
Yeah, we that was a single cask that we bought 1985, and we sold every case.
This was the really expensive one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that bottle now you'll be north of 500 quid. Yeah, that's juice.
Oh, it tastes like, oh my god, it's absolutely amazing. It's like I've got this subtle spice with honey, and it's so delicious.
You know, John was saying there about people coming to us and asking for old and rare exclusive rums. We've got some, but we have to keep that for our own lines, and this is one example. So now, if they're buying casks from us that are 10, 12 years old, that have been in Liverpool, they'll actually buy 2. They will bottle one, and then they'll lay 5 to 10 years themselves. So they're taking on board John's advice. You know, if you do have the cash flow, invest it in 2, bottle 1, have wonderful stock in 10 years time. So we're seeing that become an occurrence.
So talking business here for a second, right, from your point of view. So this stuff,
Yeah.
which I've just said is amazing, you've just said, what, 500 quid a bottle, did you say?
North of, I would expect. Yeah. We set a recommended retail price to our wholesalers. It's completely up to them what for any of the bottles. We obviously have a case price to them for 6, buy and move on. And we don't want to.
How do normal Luddites like me ever get to taste something that good? Like that's, I mean, I'm talking bottle sizes. Do we bring that down to 500 ml? So this is like the boutique rum company, for instance. You know, ignore the bottling, but I'm a big fan of what they do because they're 500 ml or 50 cls, whatever you call it. So it brings the bottle price down. I don't know, because that's absolutely amazing.
Well, like,
and that's
again, this is my point of actually listening to the client. We haven't gone anywhere. We haven't deviated from the 70 cents ever. I think. I mean, one of the reasons we've not done so well in America over many years is there was 75, and John didn't want to deviate because, again, and you start adding variants, and I know this from the aviation trade. As soon as there's problems, but if there is a way to actually extend it and move it, and we can justify that, then we would take everything on board. And if it's a 50 boutique they do a great job, but they've got fabulous rums there as well, and John chat all the time as well. So yeah, that's something we would listen to, definitely.
Interesting. So Geraint's just brought up the point I was getting at earlier, but I'll whack it on screen there. But the whole so when you get these, right, I'm thinking from our point of view now. So you've got this. Is Cuba one of these that you're releasing at different ages as well? But let's talk about the. Go on.
No, sorry. Interesting on Cuba. They restrict at VB it comes out of Cuba at. So we've just recently looked at taking on some 5-year-old, but it doesn't work for us because we would have to put it straight to bottle, because ABV would drop and we would be too close to spoil. So wonderful stuff. As John mentioned, he has lots of friendships in the industry. He gets in the samples, he tastes them, he knows what they get on. I'll leave that to John. He's perfect at that. But when we look at the actual financials of it, it's fairly difficult. But everywhere else, then yes, we the Jamaica new make that we've bought in at 75, 80. That's high, and then 60 into wood, and then 5 years time, 8 years time, and then we'll release on from there. So yes, that will be the same base spirit, but.
So the point is from the Geraint's trying to make, and I was trying to make, wording it really badly, is like, right, are you going to come out and say this rum, this is bottling number 1 of this rum at 5-year-old, and we are going to do the same rum? Because I think that is a massive attraction. Once people realise that it's a whole collection to have of this same rum, is that part of the marketing? Are you going to get that message out?
I mean that, but it all hinges back onto that wonderful afternoon where John sits in his kitchen and tastes the sample. Can't look forward, not in a bad. I can't look forward to that. Says that's ready to go at 8 years old. He might turn around and say, actually, no, it happens. So we need to wait for 10 years old. Yeah. So although we can have a plan as such to deviate, but it's a good idea, I think
just
it'd be really interesting to.
I think it's not so much nailing in dates and say this is going to be in 5 years' time. I think it's more the case of, as we know now, the Venezuela, you've got whatever it was, 25,000 litres of it, and that's going to be like, I know most of us now are going to be looking at that going, right, this was the first one, this is going to be the second one when you release it. But if we didn't have that knowledge, we would just assume that the next Venezuelan release is a completely different rum, distilled at a different time.
No, that's a good point. It's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, work for us is that we do need to bring in certain levels of quantity and certain lines. You know, I'm hoping that my presence within the building will evolve the lines that we're able to sell. We're now working with a duty-free shop of the Middle East airports, and 85% of the rum that they will sell is classic rum, and that's a deal that we've managed to get together. Sitting in and out of the airport, they'll be able to pick up a Bristol, and you know, if they're off to China or Singapore, you know, they can bring a bottle of Bristol with them. So we then have continued to supply into them as well. So you know, we can ask from you know, whoever there here and there, but actually look into the future. Doing over the last couple of years is the right way to be doing it, and you know, building our stock in the last 2-3 years has multiplied dramatically through this way. The sourcing the casks, you know, it's not every day that you can find out that you can fill to. So yeah, so John does really well with his contacts there.
Personal thing here then, right?
Yeah.
What's your favourite rum that you've tried from the Bristol collection? Has there been one where you've just gone, wow, that's a bit special? What's been the standout highlight?
The Port Morant 1990, which is that's just wonderful. That is just Venezuela. Okay. I really am a fan of the Venezuelan. That you know what it stands for. I mean, it's had great reviews. I think Lance at Lone Cane has just given it a great review as well. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. And the Trinidad, the 8-year-old, you know, 2013 Dominican Republic. That is a Madeira finish, dressing as well.
That was my pick out of the. I think it was the 4 or 5 that you had at not the Rum Fest, the Rum Show in July, whenever it was. That Dominican was fantastic.
Yes. Well, I mean, we've had a good year on the bottle stock last year. In autumn, we were able to replenish a lot of lines. We've introduced some fours come on board. The Haiti that we were talking about earlier, we've replenished that with a 2. So you know, these are nearly 20 years old. So, these guys, a Jamaican 2011, and a wonderful 100% maturation in the UK, a Jamaican 1997, a Clarendon established.
Wow. So I know you can't put set dates on it because they will be bottled when they're ready, but how many bottlings do you look to release a year? How many are we looking at here? Because in my head, I'm thinking 6, 7, but I've got the stinking suspicion it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's slightly more than that. So we have a list of 20, give or take around 20. And we actually look at the holes that we have in that list. 45 quid bottles. So Caribbean Collection, which is Trinidad together, that's at 42%. And then we had a cane juice that I was showing you. That was 2011. That's and then you can go all the way up to the other end, which is the PM 1990, and the cat, which again moved you without falling over. This is our latest line, 1998. That's a classic HTR. So that's the next.
If you just
one
upgraded that,
yeah, that's the upgrade from that one. Although the 1990 is a beast now, so treasure that with all your heart. And then we look at the holes, and we say, well, at around the 100 quid mark, the 80 quid mark, the 200 quid mark. What are we missing? A rum for every budget, and that's where John will then select as Belize 2006. That'll fit in there lovely, and that's where we'll tasks from Liverpool. We'll then move them up to our bottlers in Scotland as well. They're bottled on a little independent bottle at LBC in Glasgow, and then distribution all over Europe and the world. So that enables us to actually work from home. As I say, John at Wickwar for a very long time, but the commute from his place he lived was fairly long, and he was spending lots of time in the car. So before my time, he decided home-based. Even before COVID, John was ahead of the curve. So that enables us to just drive up. We hit Liverpool. We look at our stock, make sure everything's cool there. Have questions, answer any potential queries we've got there. Then we'll drive on a day or two, seeing the bottlers, seeing the distribution warehouse, and then back down to Bristol 6 or 8 weeks just to make sure everything's cool. But we've got Germany. They're our biggest markets, and China and the Middle East.
So to sum up, sorry, just so I'm crystal clear on this, you've got a core line of 20, or you'd like to have 20 products, 20 whatever rums out. But when you look to see where there's a gap, so if you've sold out of one, then there's of a price bracket or an age range, you then look to refill that.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly how it works. So if we don't have enough old rum, 20, then we'll move something up to fulfill that. We need something much younger, and it's to service the whole of our needs, to give them choice.
You need to so many things you need to do for the UK. You need to start up like a rum club type thing where because I know if you said, right, there's 50 slots available in the UK. You're going to get first dibs on this. That 50 people are just going to jump on that straight away, just to be the first ones to get a release. Yeah. It's that kind of marketing kind of angle. It's just
Yeah, but
I'm thinking, hang on a minute, what can I actually get now for Bristol? I can't get that much. There's not that much available in the UK.
No, and that is a fault of our own at the moment, because it's from building this enthusiasm and getting the lines in place, which we've had in place for and obviously needed to replenish, and it's now just whipping up the guys up there that's a Bristol, but perhaps 2 years ago saw this lull, and now we need to whip. John was in Harvey Nicks, he was in Selfridges, he was in Harrods. There's John's lines, which is phenomenal, really, and we need to just continue supporting that, and it should be really easy for someone to go wherever they need to go and buy a diminished thing. So I've got a few months of hard work ahead, but sure that if everyone wants a Bristol bottle, everyone can get a Bristol bottle.
Yes. Right, there's a few questions. I'm just going to, in statements, I'm just going to nail it. Right, we all definitely hit Dave. So this is Manchester Rum Fest, the proper, not the gin one, but the proper one. Are you exhibiting there? Have you nailed in dates or anything for next year?
Yeah, well, interestingly, we're looking at dates at the moment. So we've just signed up to the Whiskey Exchange one in London. Manchester, awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to make a note of that right now.
So that is right. So that is the week before the Whiskey Exchange one.
Okay.
This one is a Saturday only, and it's Dave. I think you'll know him. It's Dave Marsland, the UK brand ambassador for Chairman's Reserve.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's his festival. It's a brilliant one. There's no gin or anything like that. It's not massive, but it's really good for the Northerners. But so yeah, we'll all be up there for that.
It's about pressing the flesh. It's about going out there and meeting new friends. You don't need to bottles of Bristol. You know, that's not the deal. We're here to share what we then great. You can evolve it and do whatever you want to do. But you know, if you want to pass on it, then keeping that experience open and friendly and approachable. And that's one thing that I find, someone to ask questions, then you know, friendships develop and
brilliant. There's so you've got Northern Ireland fan club in the house now. You're drinking 2005 Belize. I knew this brand because of people in the rum community. He's also got. Hang on, what's this? Sorry, go on, carry on.
So 2005, we sold out towards the 2005. Our last case went out. So we have 2006. We 3 of those went up to Scotland around July time, August. That's now in bottle, and that's now part of our range. So 2006 is again, you know, fantastic spirit. So it's a good choice there. Really good choice.
Wow. Cool. And then Karen, I think Karen must have missed this earlier, but yeah, Bristol, is it a permanent stock line? The spiced this stuff, is it a permanent stock line? Well, yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So Bristol Black was bottled. This one was 2019. We have a bit produced. Obviously, a large quantity has gone out to you guys, but that you'll be able to get through all sorts of distribution channels, whether it be on Amazon Exchange or Royal Mail, or you know, the guys down in Cornwall. It's yeah. Get it while you can.
Yeah. Don't forget the Cornish ones. I'm mindful of time for you. Is there anything we've kind of missed that you wanted to chat about? Is there anything you wanted to get across?
No, it's just about listening to the consumer out there and you know, how their drinking is evolving from us as a brand. Again, it's really easy to sell great rum, and John, you know, he offers great rum, and experience is just there for all to see.
Is there? Do you still fly balloons? Hang on, before you answer that, is there? Do you do events where like people can just turn up for your tastings? Do you do tasting events?
Again, it's time limits. You know, when we do a tasting event, I'd like John to why people are coming into Bristol. You know, they want to just experience him and the way tasting. So when we're going from organisers, typically try and, you know, twist John's arm to sit in a room with 30 of them. So yeah, keep an eye out, you know,
right, okay,
at the rum show or wherever. Then yeah.
Brilliant. So right, do you still fly balloons?
Technically I do. I have a commercial license that I've had for many years. Thatcher and Bristol that make balloons, and I was their test pilot for a while as well. Legally, I now can't fly them because my validity experience. Commercial license, you have to fly once every 90 days, and I'm drunk these days, so and drinking and flying doesn't mix. So I've gone from one industry. I'd flown balloons for many years, and I'd done lots of work and stunt work. I'd done involving them as well, so a lot of stuff that you might have been involved in there somewhere along the lines, and it was time for a change, and John came along, and it's been a blessing in disguise. Yeah, I might need balloon and fly privately at some point, but not for a couple of years.
Bristol rum tasting in a hot air balloon. There we go.
Yeah. Get the basket all laid out. Like, there's
about £2,000 a ticket. You could get what, 6 people in a balloon, including
exactly
you and that. So 4 seats. It's like 5, 6, 7 grand easy.
a world record to be had there, the highest bar, so we could go up to 10,000 feet. And
brilliant. There's another advocate there for the 500ml bottles. I do, yeah. I don't know. It's just something about me. I do like the 500mls, but I don't know.
That's what we need to do. We need to take these risks, and if it works, every great idea probably comes out of a mistake or a mishap or a mispull. Never convinced that these people will have these brilliant ideas when they wake up in the middle of the night. I'm sure it's complete goes, oh, brilliant. So it's something we need to trial and watch this
space. Brilliant. Look, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to stay on for a few minutes just with the guys, maybe do a couple of drinks, but I'm going to let you go because it's nearly 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. I won't say too much, but you are definitely coming back at some point in the not too distant future to talk about something else. And we will also chat to you about something else that we already had a chat about. That's cryptic, but I'll follow you up with that sort of stuff. There we go. Sod 50ml, bring out the magnums. There we go.
Tap the cask. That's the way to do it. Just put a tap on the cask. In fact, we did that recently for a Corman Belgium. In fact, we've got some exclusive bottlings going out in the next couple of weeks. But they took a cask of ours, John's Carony, from the beginning of the year, and they literally tapped the barrel, and you could come along. You could 10 centilitre or a 70 centilitre bottle, put your label on and ask, no filter, nothing. And
wow.
It was for a one night only. So you get to Belgium to their shop for this one night. It's one Friday night. And then at the shut, then that cask, what's remaining, has been put back into stock before it comes out again. So it is possible.
Wow. We
can just bring your own bottle. In it goes.
Don't tell them that. Wow, that's amazing. Look, Simon, thank you so much for that. Tonight has been a bit about that.
Yeah, that is
the Bristol Black Spiced. That's
Christmas.
I have to say, honestly, and I can be honest with you, at room temperature, I don't like it at all. It's too licorice for me. But when it's chilled, it's completely different taste. Completely different. Out here in the garage, in the studio, it's like I do get those spices. When it's room temperature, I don't. I get cough medicine.
It just shows that you have to come back to these things every now and then, don't you? And your memory, but just revisit and see how it might evolve. Again, with a PM90, if you pour it, then you need to leave it for 10 minutes. Let it open up. They all do different things different ways. So it's all about how you.
How much is that? How much is that Port Morant? Give or take,
something around there. I would suggest. Again, I don't know exact figures because that's not.
It's got a bit. I'm so disappointed with the El Dorado ones. It just the 59% whatever it is all right, but the 40% ones are just meh.
Yeah. Again, this goes back to John and his maturation. He's had a wealth of experience, tasks and good quality wood. And again, when we visit Liverpool, one of our tasks is to look at the empty, make sure they're of the quality that John wants to put his liquid in, and two of them, and the heads get smashed in, and they're never to be used enough for moving the liquid forward.
Yeah, I find that whole, we could have gone on for hours about that, but that whole chat about UK aging, I'm just so fascinated by, because all the big guys, and I won't name them, and I'm talking brands, but all the big guys have. I've heard statements. I've heard them say it in real life where they don't really rate the UK for aging or outside of the Caribbean and it's just going to show that actually, aging outside of the Caribbean should be taken seriously. I think
Yeah,
that's the big takeaway.
I mean, yeah, it's horses for courses, and again, I think people get influenced by other people's opinions, and you know, you should have your own opinions and just enjoy what you enjoy. Again, it's the Caroni stock that we can talk about another time. Is John shipped all of his Caroni in 2008, whereas Vellier kept all his out there. So again, two different directions. So you're getting different liquids at the end of the day.
Oh.
And actually,
I hadn't even gotten onto that.
yeah, no. John shipped our last 14 years of our Caroni has been in Wickwar or Liverpool. You know, the warehousing is it's brick, red, dingy. You know, it's wet. It's everything that you a warehouse of normal stock. You know, books or whatever you, because it for rum casks, it's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's a wonderful place to spend hours up there. But yeah, we've got a couple of floors up there, and I've just had it was actually great. So I've physically touched every barrel that John owns. It did take, yeah. He's all right. We're all right for stock for a couple of years at least.
Oh, brilliant. Look, I keep butting in. Look, thank you so much for tonight. The love is coming in from the comments.
Pleasure.
Honestly, you two have been
fantastic.
Fantastic. And I'll email you again tomorrow and all that with stats and stuff. And
yeah,
I'll resort the thumbnail and the title of the show because I've got some ideas to get it going. But genuinely, thank you for one of the most exciting, for me, one of the most exciting brands that I've stumbled across this year to keep an eye on, especially now that you've told me about the Venezuelan and all that. That's, yeah, interesting.
Keep an eye. We'll try and get to as many rum fests as we can and enjoy a glass with everyone. That's just my aim.
Definitely.
Thanks, Steve.
Definitely. Thank you so much, guys. I'm staying on for a couple of minutes anyway. But Simon, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I will speak to you really soon. All right, mate. Take care.
Enjoy.
Legend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Right. Let's just take that off. Right. I'm still here. I can do a couple of cocktails if people want me to. There's so much knowledge. So much flying around my head. Basically, John said he was going to come. Well, they emailed, said John will give us like 30 minutes, and I was very mindful of time. I could have taken that conversation in so many different directions. It's just absolutely fascinating. Yeah, my head is buzzing at the moment. This is one of the streams that I'm definitely going to have to watch back just to kind of listen to John again and what he's talking about. But fantastic. And I tell you what, this stuff is, I know these are only little bottles, but this stuff is absolutely insane. So good. So distilled in 1985, bottled in 2022. Look, 40, I called it Long Pong. It's not at all. It's such a delicious rum. I mean, that's really good as well. The Trinidad, the yellow bottle, the 8-year-old, that's really, really good as well. But that is stunning. So, am I doing the Stratford test? Yes, we can do the Stratford test. I should really do the Craft Rum Club test. I'm not convinced. Where are we going? The Cherry Bee Fizz. I might actually just very, very quickly just do, because I'm intrigued. By the way, the grog. We did the grog. We had a grog with John before we started live tonight, and the grog is absolutely delicious, even though John's was a lot blacker than what mine was. So that was fun. So the grog is really, really nice. I can't do the Christmas cake rum fashion because I've got to soak my raisins for a week, was it? Cover the cup and soak for a week. So I'm going to do that over the next couple of weeks. But I might do this because I'm kind of, these are chilled. I might actually save these. I might do these in a separate standalone video So basically, I know it's the core audience that are here for the moment. I'll come back through these comments in a second. But just while the core audience is here, what I'm doing now, I am taking a 2-week-ish break from YouTube. I haven't actually filmed since the second week in November. That's how far I was ahead. The last video went out on Wednesday, just gone. So there'll be no content at all next week. And probably no content the week after. I might do a Christmas Day live. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. It might just be impromptu. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a little paint, a refurb behind the bar. I've got ideas. I'm going to do a new bar. The camera angle is going to be slightly, I can sort of do it. Hang on, let's bring this up. What I basically want to do, hang on, is that working? What's that like here? Let's bring this down here. Yeah. So what I kind of want to do is that's my camera fully zoomed out. You can see there's a mirror here. That's a mirror. So it's just reflecting this. But I kind of want to bring this and this in. This shelf is going to come down slightly, but they're going to be double. This shelf is going to go back. It's all stuff here. No, I'm going to do a different bar. I'm going to make it more cocktail friendly. So the blender that's right there at the moment is going to come on the back of the bar. So I'm having a little play with that and stuff. But when I come back, I am going all guns blazing with different content. There is going to be a video dropping. The way I've kind of planning it, hopefully, it should be a video every single day of the week, the way I've planned it. Should be quite easy to film because a lot of it is just going to be, so I'm going to like restart reviews and stuff like that, just short reviews. So I'm going to be doing a bit of that because there's a lot of rums here that I haven't even given my opinion on, and they're going to be sort of unedited and all that. There's basically, I'm going to use this channel, Steve the Barman. I'm going to use this channel as the main channel. This is the one for the algorithm. It's going to be content that's going to attract the new rum lovers, the viewers, educational. Whereas Steve the Barman Extra, it's gone back to extra now. I was thinking of 5 other channels, but there's one other channel. The live show is going to move to that because I do know that the live show does hurt this channel because view time and CTR and all that malarkey. So the live stream is going to move to the extra channel. We're going to do a spiced rum day of the week. We're going to do a UK rum review of the week. We're going to do a rum of the week. There's going to be a tiki cocktail instead of the whole debunking, like doing the cocktail on the main channel and then debunking with that. I'm just going to do that on the extra channel. So the main channel is just going to be purely to attract the viewer. It's going to be lots of education. I'm going right back to basics again, but what you'll get between the 2 channels is a video every single day, hopefully, of the week. And I'll see how long I can go with that. It should be fine. And the first video is planned for the 27th of December. Stuff like, I can't get it up on my, I'll give you some topics while I'm here. Is that the thing? Yeah, that's the thing. I'll give you some topics. Just start some rough education topics that I'm kind of looking at, if I can see it on here. Blah, blah, blah. Come on, open up. The stream might have just come out. So, hang on. I've got to move this up here. Oh, poor TV. Come on, move. It's not moving. Hang on. Right. That's it. Right. There we go. Right. Boom. That's better. Right. So, we are looking at, the first few weeks. Let's bring this down. So obviously we've got to do, and I've been planning this for ages, the best rums of 2022, because that's always the biggest one. And I asked loads of feedback from you guys here. And then the simple sample educational videos are going. We've got like, what is rum? So a quick sort of 5-minute teaser of that. Where does rum come from? What is Caribbean rum? What's the difference between white rum and light rum? That's all on the main channel. 10 rum tasting hacks we've got done. The aroma kit, I've got a rum aroma kit that's already here. How to fix a rum that you don't like. All that sort of stuff is going to live on this channel. Whereas the other channel, Steve the Barman Extra, what have we got lined up? So we've got a review of Ninefolds cask number 2. the Rum Runner cocktail, the Ron Cubes. I'm going to be doing a tasting through the Cubes, all the youngsters right up to the big old ones, reviewing the difference. Lazy Dog Honey, Davidson's J, Chairman of Reserve Forgotten Cask, Tiki Cocktails, Two Drifters, Lazy Dog, Santa Teresa, all that sort of stuff as much as the live. So there's lots of changes happening here. Going into that, basically, I'm going big or going home next year with rum. So that's what's coming up on there. So yeah, 2-week break to get all this sorted, to make the bar a bit more functional, and we'll go from there. Right, so let's go back through these. Well, to what are we going to do now? So if I do one Sunday, Christmas Day, that's only next Sunday. So next Sunday, the 18th, there's definitely not going to be one. 100% not going to be one next Sunday. But if I do one Christmas Day, that is the following Sunday. That's only 2 weeks from now. So I probably will do, to be fair, a Christmas Day. But we'll see. It'll be a laugh and a giggle one. I've got lots of taste-alongs planned in January, February, March. We've already got Kit that's signed up for a day for Ninefolds. We've got the Craft Rum Club coming back as well, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so don't worry too much. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, it's one Sunday. Bakes, the reviews I love. Yeah, exactly. Pot of raisins. Simon, a pair of you legends. Thanks again for your time. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Simon. It's great. Christmas, brilliant. And New Year, birthday, great show. What? Hope everyone has a great Christmas, New Year, and birthday live. Whose birthday? Ross, is it your birthday? When's your birthday? When's your birthday? Right. So yeah, I'm gonna call it quits there. It's flipping freezing out here now. So I'm gonna call it quits. If there's no other questions, nothing like that. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you all so much for this year. I probably will see you Christmas Day unless I'm a little bit too tipsy. But you know, let me know. Let me know in the Discord. Do you want me to go live on Christmas Day or not? Christmas, I'm talking like normal time, so I might do 7 o'clock. Depends what's on TV. You know, we shall see. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go and edit this now. How is my chocolate? What's this? How is my chocolate? Was that you? Fidel Claire, there was this. I had an Amazon package. What was it, like 3 or 4 days ago now? Just this random, nothing in it, no words or anything. Just this random bag of chocolate. I don't know, because I get stuff coming through all the time, and I'm like, who the hell is this from? No idea. Thank you very much, Claire. I've not opened it yet because I had no idea who it was. So thank you. So yes, that's in there. Ross's birthday is New Year's Eve. Nice. Yeah, I might even do it as New Year's Day, isn't it? Live, it's Sunday as well. So I might even do a live New Year's Day, but we shall see. So I hope to see you in Manchester Rum Fest next year. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Right. On that note, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much. There was supposed to be a note. No. Just honestly, just an Amazon envelopey thingamajig with the chocolate inside. That was it. No idea. So yeah. So right, I need to edit this. So I want to get this edited and new thumbnail as soon as possible, so we can get maximum attention span on this. So I'm going. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a few weeks. But most of you I'll see in the Discord. All right. Toodaloo.